3 girls thought they had cornered the perfect victim in that school bathroom. But they had no idea her father was literally 50 feet away with 15 armed officers ready to breach doors. Before we dive in, tell us where in the world are you watching from? If you enjoy stories like this, make sure to hit that subscribe button, because tomorrow's episode is truly mind-blowing. Let's get started. I'm Celeste Martinez, and what happened to me that Tuesday afternoon changed everything. Not just for me, but for every kid who's ever felt powerless against bullies. Because sometimes the universe has a twisted sense of timing, and sometimes that timing saves your life. Let me tell you about the day I learned that being scared doesn't make you weak, and that the people who love you are closer than you think. This is about 3 girls who picked the wrong victim on the wrong day at the wrong school. This is about my dad, Detective Sergeant Roberto Martinez, who spent 20 years learning how to protect people, never knowing his biggest test would involve protecting his own daughter. Brielle Chen ruled Lincoln High like her own personal kingdom. At 17, she was everything I wasn't, confident, popular, and cruel enough to enjoy watching others suffer. Her 2 best friends, Tessa Vaughn and Quinn Riley, followed her around like loyal soldiers, ready to destroy anyone who dared exist in Brielle's world without permission. I was their favorite target because I was everything they hated, quiet, different, and worst of all, the daughter of a cop. Not just any cop, but the kind of cop who kicks down doors and faces down armed criminals for a living. They couldn't touch him, so they decided to break me instead. But here's what they didn't know about my dad. Roberto Martinez doesn't just lead Lincoln County's SWAT team because he's good at his job. He leads it because when someone threatens innocent people, he becomes something dangerous. When someone threatens his family, he becomes something terrifying. That Tuesday started like any other day. I ate breakfast while Dad checked his tactical gear, kissed Mom goodbye, and promised Dad I'd text him when I got home safe. Just another ordinary morning in the Martinez household, where bulletproof vests hang next to school backpacks and tactical radios charge beside iPhone chargers. I had no idea that in 6 hours, my quiet little world would explode into something that would make the evening news. I had no idea that the same bathroom where I'd hidden from bullies for months would become the scene of the most dramatic moment of my teenage life. Most importantly, I had no idea that my dad's SWAT unit was scheduled to run training exercises in our school gymnasium that very afternoon. 50 feet away from where Brielle, Tessa, and Quinn planned to corner me. 50 feet away from where they thought no one could hear me scream. They were wrong about that. Dead wrong. Moving to Lincoln High 3 months earlier was supposed to be a fresh start. Dad got promoted to lead the county's SWAT team, which meant better pay, a bigger house, and what Mom called new opportunities for our family. What it really meant was starting over as the new girl whose father carried a gun to work every day. The first week, I thought maybe I could blend in. I kept my head down, sat in the back of classes, and never mentioned what my dad did for a living. But in a school of 800 kids, secrets don't stay buried long. Someone's older brother worked dispatch. Someone else's mom was a court clerk. By the second week, everyone knew I was the SWAT girl. Most kids just stared or whispered when I walked by. Some thought it was cool and tried to ask questions about raids and shootouts. But Brielle Chen saw an opportunity. She understood that being different made you a target, and being the daughter of someone intimidating made you an even better target. Because if she could break the SWAT commander's daughter, what did that say about her power? The bullying started small. Shoulder bumps in the hallway that looked accidental. My lunch tray mysteriously knocked over. Whispered comments about how my dad probably beat criminals for fun. So what did that make me? I told myself it would pass. New girl problems always did, right? But Brielle was patient, calculating. She never did anything dramatic enough to get suspended. Just a steady campaign of small humiliations designed to make me feel like I didn't belong. Tessa and Quinn followed her lead, treating me like some dangerous animal they had to keep contained. The worst part was lying to my parents every night. Dad would come home exhausted from training exercises or actual call-outs, still wearing his tactical gear, and ask, "Mija, how was school today?" I'd force a smile and say, "Fine," because how do you tell your father that his job makes you a target? How do you admit that the thing he's most proud of makes your life miserable? Mom would pack extra snacks in my lunch and remind me that making friends takes time. She had no idea I spent most lunch periods hiding in the library, pretending to study while watching other kids laugh and joke at tables I'd never be invited to join. That Tuesday morning felt different. Dad was checking his gear with extra precision, running through equipment lists twice. "Community Outreach Day," he explained when he caught me watching. "We're running training exercises at your school this afternoon, showing kids that police aren't the enemy, building bridges in the community." My stomach dropped. Bad enough that everyone knew what my dad did. Now they'd see him in action, probably looking intimidating as hell in full tactical gear. I grabbed his arm before he left. "Dad, please don't make it obvious you're my father. I just want to be normal." He paused, studying my face with those sharp eyes that missed nothing. "Celeste, you know I'm proud of you, right? And you should be proud of who your family is." I nodded because what else could I do? But inside, I was already planning how to avoid the gymnasium all day. Little did I know that avoiding my dad would put me exactly where Brielle wanted me. The final bell rang at 3:15, and I had successfully avoided the gymnasium all day. My plan was simple: hide in the second-floor bathroom until the crowd thinned out, then slip past the gym and catch my bus home. Dad would never know I'd been avoiding his demonstration, and I'd never have to see the looks on my classmates' faces when they realized the scary SWAT commander was my father. The bathroom felt like sanctuary. It was older than the rest of the school, with white tiles that echoed every sound and a heavy wooden door that provided perfect cover. I checked my phone, watching the minutes tick by. Just 10 more minutes and the coast would be clear. That's when I heard footsteps. 3 sets, moving with purpose down the hallway. My blood turned cold because I recognized that particular rhythm. Brielle always walked like she owned every inch of ground beneath her feet, with Tessa and Quinn flanking her like bodyguards. The door swung open before I could even think about hiding in a stall. Well, Brielle's voice cut through the space like a blade. "Look who's been hiding from us, girls. The SWAT princess thinks she's too good to watch Daddy's little show downstairs." Tessa immediately moved to block the door while Quinn positioned herself by the sinks, cutting off any escape route. This wasn't random. They'd planned this, probably been watching me all day, waiting for the perfect moment when I was alone and trapped. "We know your secret," Brielle continued, pulling out her phone and opening the camera app. "You're embarrassed by your daddy, aren't you?" Little Celeste Martinez doesn't want anyone to see her father in his scary soldier costume. My heart hammered against my ribs. "Please, just leave me alone. I never did anything to you. You exist," Quinn snapped. "You walk around here like you're special because your dad carries a gun to work. Like that makes you better than us." Brielle stepped closer, her phone now recording. "Here's what's going to happen. You're going to tell everyone watching this video that your father is a bully with a badge. You're going to admit that you're nothing without his protection." I pressed back against the cold tile wall. "I'm not doing that." "Yes, you are." Tessa moved closer from the door. "Because if you don't, we're going to make every single day at this school hell for you. We'll post this video anyway. Tell everyone you're too scared to defend yourself or your precious daddy." The 3 of them formed a semicircle around me, their phones all recording now. I realized this had always been their endgame. Not just to humiliate me, but to capture my humiliation forever, to turn it into entertainment they could share with the whole school. "Daddy's little girl needs armed bodyguards to feel safe at school," Quinn taunted, stepping closer. That's when Brielle made her first mistake. She reached out and shoved me hard against the wall, my head hitting the tiles with a sharp crack that echoed through the bathroom. The push wasn't just intimidation anymore. It was assault. The moment my head hit that tile wall, something inside me snapped. Not broke, but snapped into focus. The pain shooting through my skull wasn't just physical anymore. It was clarity. 3 months of taking their abuse, 3 months of staying quiet to protect everyone else's feelings. And where had it gotten me? Cornered in a bathroom while they recorded my humiliation for the entertainment of strangers. I remembered something Dad told me during one of our weekend self-defense sessions in the garage. "Mia, sometimes the best tactical decision is to make noise. When you're outnumbered and outgunned, you call for backup. There's no shame in getting help when you need it." My hand found the red emergency button mounted next to the paper towel dispenser. Every bathroom in Lincoln High had them, installed after a violent incident 2 years ago that I'd never bothered to learn the details about. My fingers closed around it. "What are you doing?" Tessa demanded, noticing my movement. I looked directly into Brielle's camera and said the loudest thing I'd ever said in my life. "My name is Celeste Martinez. These girls are assaulting me in the second-floor bathroom at Lincoln High School." Then I slammed that emergency button with everything I had. The alarm was deafening in the enclosed space, a piercing wail that bounced off every surface, designed to be heard throughout the entire building. Brielle dropped her phone, hands flying to her ears. Quinn stumbled backward, shouting something I couldn't hear over the noise, but I could hear something else. Something that made my heart race with hope instead of fear. Running footsteps. Heavy boots on linoleum, moving fast and with purpose. The kind of footsteps that belonged to people who ran toward danger instead of away from it. Down in the gymnasium, Dad's training exercise had shifted into something real. I learned later that the moment that alarm went off, 15 SWAT officers went from demonstration mode to full tactical response in under 30 seconds. My father's voice cut through the controlled chaos, directing his team with the kind of calm authority that comes from 20 years of emergency response. Second floor, East Wing. Unknown situation involving potential assault. Team 2, secure the stairwells. Team 3, evacuate surrounding classrooms. I'll take point on assessment. But Dad knew the building layout better than anyone. He'd studied every exit, every hallway, every potential threat vector as part of their demonstration prep. He also knew his daughter's schedule, knew she should be somewhere in this building, and the sick feeling in his stomach told him this alarm wasn't a coincidence. The footsteps were getting louder, closer. Brielle, Tessa, and Quinn pressed against the far wall, their faces pale with the sudden realization that their perfect victim hadn't been as helpless as they'd thought. The bathroom that had felt like my prison was about to become theirs. Through the wailing alarm, I heard the most beautiful sound in the world. My father's voice. Calm and professional just outside the door. Lincoln, County SWAT. We need everyone to exit this bathroom immediately with hands visible and empty. Dad's voice carried the kind of authority that made hardened criminals surrender without a fight. In that cramped bathroom, it hit Brielle, Tessa, and Quinn like a physical force. Their faces went from smug confidence to pure terror in the span of a heartbeat. "Oh my God," Tessa whispered, her voice barely audible over the still wailing alarm. "That's real police." "This is SWAT," Dad continued, his tone professional but with an edge that suggested he was barely containing something dangerous. "You have 10 seconds to comply." Brielle's phone clattered to the wet floor as her hands shot up. All 3 girls pressed themselves against the far wall, as far from the door as possible. Quinn started crying. These were the same girls who'd spent months making my life miserable, and now they looked like terrified children. "Dad?" I called out, my voice cracking. "Dad, I'm in here." The silence that followed lasted maybe 2 seconds, but it felt like an eternity. Then I heard something that made my heart soar and break at the same time. My father's voice, stripped of all professional composure, raw with parental fear and fury. "Celeste? Baby, are you hurt?" "I'm okay now," I managed to say. The bathroom door opened slowly and Dad stepped inside wearing full tactical gear. Body armor, helmet, the works. But it was his eyes I focused on. Those sharp professional eyes that had assessed thousands of dangerous situations were now scanning every inch of me for injuries, and they were filled with a father's protective rage. Behind him stood Officer Martinez and Sergeant Chen from his unit, both fully armed and ready for whatever they might find. The small bathroom suddenly felt crowded with authority and consequences. Dad's gaze moved from me to the 3 girls huddled against the wall, then to the phone scattered on the floor, then back to me. I watched him piece it together in real time. The emergency alarm. His daughter cornered in a bathroom. 3 other kids who looked guilty as hell. "Sir," Officer Martinez spoke quietly, "we found evidence of assault and harassment on these devices." He'd already secured the dropped phones, probably saw the recordings they'd been making. Brielle finally found her voice, though it came out as a terrified squeak. "We weren't doing anything wrong. We were just talking. This is all a big misunderstanding." Dad looked at her for a long moment, then back at me. The red mark on my forehead where my head hit the wall was probably visible, along with my torn sleeve and the scattered contents of my backpack. "Miss," he said to Brielle, his voice deadly calm, "I've been doing this job for 20 years. I know what assault looks like. I know what harassment sounds like. And I know what fear looks like." He gestured toward me. "That's my daughter, and she's been afraid." The weight of those words settled over the bathroom like a verdict. Within 24 hours, everything changed at Lincoln High. Brielle Chen was suspended pending a formal hearing and faced charges for assault and harassment. The recorded evidence on her phone showed premeditation, turning what might have been dismissed as teenage drama into a criminal matter. Tessa and Quinn received suspensions and mandatory counseling, their college applications suddenly complicated by disciplinary records they'd never imagined having. But the real change went deeper than punishment. The story spread through school like wildfire, but not the way I'd feared. Instead of being seen as the weak girl who needed her daddy's protection, I became the girl who'd fought back. Students I'd never spoken to stopped me in hallways to share their own bullying stories. Teachers who'd witnessed months of subtle harassment finally understood what they'd been seeing. 3 weeks later, I stood at the podium in our school auditorium during an anti-bullying assembly, looking out at 800 faces. My hands shook, but my voice stayed steady. "My name is Celeste Martinez," I began, the same words I'd said in that bathroom, but this time by choice. 3 weeks ago, I thought asking for help made me weak. I thought protecting my bullies by staying quiet made me noble. I was wrong about both of those things. In the audience, I could see Brielle's empty seat in the junior section. She was completing community service at a crisis center for teens, part of her plea agreement. Her lawyer had argued that public humiliation was punishment enough. The judge disagreed. After the assembly, Dad found me in the hallway. He'd taken the afternoon off to hear me speak, trading his tactical gear for a simple suit and tie. But his eyes held the same pride I'd seen that day in the bathroom. "I'm proud of you, Mija," he said, pulling me into a hug that smelled like aftershave and courage. "Not because you're my daughter, but because of who you're becoming." "Dad, I need to tell you something." I pulled back to meet his eyes. "I'm proud that you're my father. I don't want to hide that anymore. Your job, our family, everything we are. I'm done being ashamed." 6 months later, I was elected to student council on a platform of peer support and anti-bullying initiatives. The bathroom where my nightmare happened got renovated with better lighting and additional security cameras. More importantly, it got a plaque recognizing students who speak up against injustice. Dad's SWAT unit expanded their school outreach program, but now it includes sessions on recognizing and reporting harassment. They call it the Martinez Protocol, though Dad insists on giving me credit for inspiring it. Sometimes I think about that Tuesday afternoon and wonder what would have happened if I'd stayed quiet, if I'd never hit that alarm button. But then I remember that courage isn't the absence of fear. It's making noise when you need help, trusting that the people who love you are closer than you think, and understanding that your voice matters more than your silence ever will. That's the lesson that changed everything, not just for me, but for everyone who heard it.